Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhauti Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, text number 4 to 7. Drushtva Nipatitam Bhūmau Divaha Chutam Iva Amaram Pranemuhu Pāṇḍava Bhīṣmam Sa Anugaha Saha Chakrina Drushtva Nipatitam Bhūmau Divaschutam Ivamaram Pranemuho Pāṇḍava Bhīṣmam Sanuga Saha Chakrina Drushtva Nipatitam Bhūmau Divaschutam Ivamaram Pranemuho Pāṇḍava Bhīṣmam Sanuga Saha Chakrina. Thus seeing Nipatitam lying down, Bhūmau on the ground, Divaha from the sky, Chutam fallen, Iva like, Amaram demigod, Pranemuhu bowed down, Pāṇḍavaha the sons of Pandu, Bhīṣmam unto Bhīṣma, Sa Anugaha with the younger brothers, Saha also with Chakrina, the Lord carrying the disc. Translation and purport by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. Seeing him, Bhīṣma, lying on the ground like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pāṇḍava King Yudhiṣṭhira, along with his younger brothers and Lord Kṛṣṇa, bowed down before him. Please repeat the translation. Seeing him, Bhīṣma, lying on the ground like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pāṇḍava King Yudhiṣṭhira, along with his younger brothers and Lord Kṛṣṇa, bowed down before him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Kṛṣṇa was also a younger cousin of Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira, as well as the intimate friend of Arjuna. But all the family members of the Pandavas knew Lord Kṛṣṇa as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord, although conscious of his supreme position, always behaved in a humanly custom. And so, he also bowed down before the dying Bhīṣma Deva, as if he were one of the younger brothers of King Yudhiṣṭhira. Next two verses, I will recite myself. Tatra Brahma Rushayah Sarve Deva Rushyascha Sattama Raja Rushyascha Tatrasan Drashtum Brata Pungavam. Just to see the chief of the descendants of King Bharata, Bhīṣma, all the great souls in the universe, namely the Rishis among the demigods, the Brahmanas and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. Purport. The Rishis are those who have attained perfection by spiritual achievements. Such spiritual achievements can be earned by all, whether one is a king or a mendicant. Bhīṣma Deva himself was also one of the Brahma Rishis and the chief of the descendants of King Bharata. All Rishis are situated in the quality of goodness. All of them assembled there on hearing the news of the great warrior's impending death. Parvato Narado Dhaumyo Bhagavan Badarainaha Brihadashva Bharadvajaha Sashishyo Renuka Sutaha Vashishta Indra Pramadas Trito Gritasmado Asitaha Kakshivan Gautamo Atrischa Kaushiko Ata Sudarshanaha. All the sages like Parvatamuni, Narada, Dhaumya, Vyasa, the incarnation of God, Brihadvasha, Bharadvaja and Parashurama, and disciples Vashishta, Indra Pramada, Trita, Gritasmada, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushika and Sudarshana were present. It's a big purport, 2.5 pages. Parvatamuni is considered to be one of the oldest sages. He is almost always a constant companion of Narada Muni. They were also the spacemen competent to travel in the air without the help of any material vehicle. Parvatamuni is also a Devarishi or a great sage among the demigods, like Narada. He was present along with Narada at the sacrificial ceremony of Maharaj Janmejaya, son of Maharaj Parikshit. In these sacrifices, all the snakes of the world were to be killed. Parvatamuni and Narada Muni are called Gandharvas also because they can travel in the air singing the glories of the Lord. Since they can travel in the air, they observed Draupadi's Swayambhu ceremony, selecting of her own husband from the air. Like Narada Muni, Parvatamuni also used to visit the royal assembly in the heaven of King Indra. As a Gandharva, sometimes he visited the royal assembly of Kuvera, one of the important demigods. Both Narada and Parvata were once in trouble with the daughter of Maharaj Srinjaya. Maharaj Srinjaya got the benediction of his son by Parvatamuni. Narada Muni is inevitably associated with the narrations of the Puranas. He is described in the Bhagavatam. In his previous life, he was the son of a maid servant, but by good association with pure devotees, he became enlightened in devotional service, and the next life he became a perfect man comparable with himself only. In the Mahabharata, his name is mentioned in many places. He is the principal Devarishi or the chief among the demigods. He is the son and disciple of Brahmaji, and from him the disciplic succession in the line of Brahma has been spread. He initiated Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj and many celebrated devotees of the Lord. He initiated even Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedic literatures. And from Vyasadeva, Madhvacharya was initiated, and thus the Madhva Sampradaya, in which Gaudiya Sampradaya is also included, has spread all over the universe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu belonged to this Madhva Sampradaya. Therefore, Brahmaji, Narada, Vyasa down to Madhva, Chaitanya and the Goswamis all belong to the same line of disciplic succession. Narada has instructed many kings from time immemorial. In the Bhagavatam, we can see that he instructed Prahlad Maharaj while he was in the womb of his mother, and he instructed Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, as well as Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira. Dhaumya, a great sage who practiced severe penances at Utkoshika Tirtha and was appointed royal priest of the Pāṇḍava kings. He acted as a priest in many religious functions of the Pandavas, and also each of the Pandavas was attended by him at the betrothal of Draupadi. He was present even during the exile of the Pandavas and used to advise them in circumstances when they were perplexed. He instructed them how to live incognito for 1 year, and his instructions were strictly followed by the Pandavas during that time. His name is mentioned also when the general funeral ceremony was performed after the battle of Kurukshetra. In the Anushashan Parva of Mahabharata, he gave very elaborate religious instruction to Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira. He was actually the right type of priest of a householder, for he could guide the Pandavas on the right path of religion. A priest is meant for guiding the householder progressively in the right path of ashrama dharma or the occupational duty of a particular caste. There is practically no difference between the family priest and the spiritual master. The sages, saints and brahmanas were especially meant for such functions. Badarayana Vyasadeva. He is also known as Krishna, Krishna Dvaipayana, Satyavati Sutta, Parashraya, Parasharya, Parasharatmaja, Badarayana, Veda Vyasa and so on. He was the son of Mahamuni Parashara in the womb of Satyavati prior to her betrothal with Maharaj Shantanu, the father of great general grandfather Bhīṣma Deva. He is a powerful incarnation of Narayana, and he broadcasts Vedic wisdom to the world. As such, Vyasadeva is offered respects before one chants the Vedic literatures, especially the Puranas. Shukadeva Goswami was his son, and the rishis like Vaishampayana were his disciples for different branches of the Vedas. He is the author of the great epic Mahabharata and the great transcendental literature Bhagavatam. The Brahma Sutras, the Vedanta Sutras, or the Badarayani Sutras were compiled by him. Among sages, he is the most respected author by dint of severe penances. When he wanted to record the great epic Mahabharata for the welfare of all people in the age of Kali, he was feeling the necessity of a powerful writer who could take up this dictation. By the order of Brahmaji, Sri Ganeshaji took up the charge of noting down the dictation on the condition that Vyasadeva would not stop dictation for a moment. The Mahabharata was thus compiled by the joint endeavor of Vyasa and Ganesha. And by the order of his mother Satyavati, he was later married to Maharaj Shantanu, and by the request of Bhīṣma Deva, the eldest son of Maharaj Shantanu, by his first wife the Ganges, he begot 3 brilliant sons, whose names were Dhritarashtra, Pandu and Vidura. The Mahabharata was compiled by Vyasadeva after the battle of Kurukshetra and after the death of all the heroes of Mahabharata. It was first spoken in the royal assembly of Maharaj Janmejaya, the son of Maharaj Parikshit. Bharadvasha, an ancient sage who used to meet Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira now and then. First of all, he met Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira at Kamyavan. The sage narrated the history of Maharaj Nala. There is another Bharadvasha who is the son of Ikshvaku dynasty. Bharadvaja, he is one of the 7 great rishis and was present at the time of the birth ceremony of Arjuna. The powerful rishi sometimes undertook severe penances on the shore of the Ganges, and his ashrama is still celebrated at Prayagadhama. It is learned that this rishi, while taking bath in the Ganges, happened to meet Gritachi, one of the beautiful society girls of heaven, and thus he discharged semen, which was thus kept and preserved in an earthen pot, and from which Drona was born. So Dronacharya is son of Bharadvaja. Others say that Bharadvaja, the father of Drona, is a different person from Maharaj Bharadvaja. He was a great devotee of Brahma. Once he approached Dronacharya and requested him to stop the battle of Kurukshetra. Parashurama Renuka Sutta. He is the son of Maharaj Jamadagni and Srimati Renuka. Thus he is also known as Renuka Sutta. He is one of the powerful incarnations of God, and he killed the Kshatriya community as a whole 21 times. With the blood of the Kshatriyas, he pleased the souls of his forefathers. Later on, he underwent severe penances at the Mahendra Parvata. After taking the whole earth from the Kshatriyas, he gave it in charity to Kashyapa Muni. Parashurama instructed the Dhanurveda, or the science of fighting, to Dronacharya because he happened to be a Brahmana. He was present during the coronation of Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira, and he celebrated the function along with other great rishis. Parashurama is so old that he met both Lord Rama and Krishna at different times. He fought with Rama, but he accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also praised Arjuna when he saw him with Krishna. When Bhīṣma refused to marry Amba, who wanted him to become her husband, Amba met Parashurama, and by her request only, he asked Bhīṣma Deva to accept her as his wife. Bhīṣma Deva refused to obey his order, although he was one of the spiritual masters of Bhīṣma Deva. Parashurama fought with Bhīṣma Deva when Bhīṣma neglected his warning. Both of them fought very severely, and at last Parashurama was pleased with Bhīṣma and gave him the benediction of becoming the greatest fighter in the world. The Vasishtha, the great celebrated sage among the Brahmanas, well known as the Brahma Rishi Vasishtha Deva. He is a prominent figure in both Ramayana and Mahabharata periods. He celebrated the coronation ceremony of Personality of Godhead Sri Rama. He was present along on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He could approach all the higher and lower planets, and his name is also connected with the history of Hiranyakashipu. There was a great tension between him and Vishwamitra, who wanted his Kamadhenu, wish-fulfilling cow. Vasishtha Muni refused to spare his Kamadhenu, and for this Vishwamitra killed his 100 sons. As a perfect Brahmana, he tolerated all the taunts of Vishwamitra. Once he tried to commit suicide on account of Vishwamitra's torture, but all his attempts were unsuccessful. He jumped from a hill, but the stones on which he fell became a stack of cotton. Thus he was saved. He jumped into the ocean, but the waves washed him ashore. He jumped onto the river, but the river also washed him ashore. Thus all his suicide attempts were unsuccessful. He is also one of the 7 rishis and husband of Arundhati, the famous star. Indrapramada, another celebrated rishi. Trita, one of the 3 sons of Prajapati Gautama. He was the 3rd son, and his other 2 brothers were known as Ekat Dvita. All the brothers were great sages and strict followers of principles of religion. By dint of severe penances, they were promoted to Brahmaloka. Once Trita Muni fell into a well. He was an organizing worker of many sacrifices, and as one of the great sages, he also came to show respect to Brahmaji at his deathbed. He was one of the 7 sages in the Varunaloka. He hailed from the western countries of the world. As such, most probably he belonged to the European countries. At that time, the whole world was under one Vedic culture. Kritasmada, one of the sages of the heavenly kingdom. He was a close friend of Indra, the king of heaven, and was as great as Brahaspati. He used to visit the royal assembly of Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira, and he also visited the place where Bhīṣma Deva breathed his last. Sometimes he explained the glories of Lord Shiva before Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira. He was the son of Vitahavya, and he resembled in features the body of Indra. Sometimes the enemy of Indra mistook him to be Indra and arrested him. He was a great scholar of Rigveda and thus he was highly respected by the Brahmana community. He lived a life of celibacy and was powerful in every respect. Ashita. There was a king of the same name, but herein Ashita mentioned is the Ashita Devala Rishi, a great powerful sage of the time. He explained to his father 15 lakh verses from Mahabharata. He was one of the members in the snake sacrifice of Maharaj Janmejaya. He was also present during the coronation ceremony of Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira, along with other great rishis. He also gave Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira instructions while he was on the Anjana hill. He was also one of the devotees of Lord Shiva. Kakshivan, one of the sons of Gautama Muni and the father of great sage Chandra Kaushika. He was one of the members of the parliament of Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira. Atri Muni was a great Brahmana sage and was one of the mental sons of Brahmaji. Brahmaji is so powerful that simply by thinking of a son, he can have it. These sons were known as Manasaputras. Out of 7 Manasaputras of Brahmaji and out of the 7 great Brahmana sages, Atri was one. In his family, the great Prachetas were also born. Atri Muni had 2 Kshatriya sons who became kings. Kings Arhattama is one of them. He is counted as one of the 21 Prajapatis. His wife's name was Anasuya and he helped Maharaj Parikshit in great sacrifices. Kaushika, one of the permanent Rishi members in the royal assembly of Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira. He sometimes met Lord Kṛṣṇa and there are several other sages of the same name. Sudarshana, this wheel which is accepted by the personality of Godhead as his personal weapon is the most powerful weapon, greater than the Brahmastra or similar other disastrous weapons. In some of the Vedic literatures, it is said that Agnideva, the fire god, presented this weapon to King Lord Kṛṣṇa. But factually, this weapon is eternally carried by the Lord. Agnideva presented this weapon to Kṛṣṇa in the same way that Rukmini was given by Maharaj Rukma to the Lord. The Lord accepts such presentations from his devotees, even though such presentations are eternally his property. There is an elaborate description of this weapon in the Adiparva of Mahabharata. Lord Sri Krishna used this weapon to kill Shishupala, a rival of the Lord. He also killed Shalva by this weapon, and sometimes he wanted his friend Arjuna to use it to kill the enemies. Mahabharata. Doesn't see Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamy Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shrivasadi Gaurabhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the context was Bhīṣma Deva. He was on Ampashaina, the bed of arrows. So he had a boon. He can fit his body whenever he decides. So when he was on that battlefield, after the battle was over, Krishna wanted Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj to come in front of Bhīṣma Deva with all his brothers in full royal opulence, so that the dying Bhīṣma Deva could see his beloved grandsons in the royal manner, who are deserved to be actually the kings of Hastinapur. So with that intention, Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj with all his brothers along with Lord Kṛṣṇa had approached Bhīṣma Deva. So that is what it is said. Društva nipatitam bhumo. Društva, by seeing bhumo, on this earth fallen. Iva divas chachutam amaram, like a demigod fallen from the sky. Pāṇḍavaha sa anuga sa Chakrina. Pāṇḍava sa anuga along with his brothers and Chakrina, Lord Kṛṣṇa. Pranemahu Bhīṣmam. They offered their respectful obeisances unto Bhīṣma Deva. And here in that purport, Prabhupada says, Lord, although the Supreme Personality behaved in a human custom to follow the etiquettes as an younger brother. Although he is a Supreme Lord, he is not forced to offer obeisances to anyone, but still he respected his devotees. Like how he respected Sudama when he visited him. He took him back. He personally came to the gate to invite him back to his palace. He made him sit on his bed. He washed his feet, sprinkled that water on his head. So he was setting an example how to receive a guest. So here also, Lord Kṛṣṇa is setting an example how to respect a Vaishnava, how to treat a Vaishnava. Then further, Drashtum Bharata Pungavam, just to see the descendants of King Bharata, Bhīṣma. Tatra sarve Deva Rishiyas, Brahma Rishiyas, Raja Rishiyas tata. All the great rishis, in the Brahmanas, in the Devatas, in the demigods, and in the kings. They all assembled there. Tatra asan cha sattama. And those who are all in the mode of goodness. Sattamaha. They are all in the prominent quality of mode of goodness. And they were all assembled there. And their names are all mentioned here. So, why did all these great sages assemble here? What would be their intention? Did they come to hear any Gramya Katha? So, the perspective here is they all assembled here for Vaishnava association. Because two great Vaishnavas are going to discuss a subject. One Bhīṣma Deva, other is Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj. So, two great personalities. So, when two great personalities discuss, the subject matter will be beneficial for every living entity. So, with that perspective, all these great sages, even though they are all self-realized, they wanted to associate with other Vaishnavas and to enhance their understanding and realization. The whole perspective is Vaishnava association. So, in entire our Vedic literatures, Bhagavatam especially, it glorifies Sadhu Sangha. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is a shloka which says, Yasya yat sangatihi pumso manivat syad sa tad gunaha. Like a mirror, a person takes on the qualities of those with whom he comes in contact. Whatever we present in mirror, it will be the same reflection. So, when you associate with people, you develop their qualities. In Telugu we say, 6 నెలలు 6 నెలలు సావాసం చేస్తే వాళ్ళు వీళ్ళు అవుతారు, వీళ్ళు వాళ్ళు అవుతారు. The same thing here. So, if you associate with a personality, we develop his traits. Swakula rudyai tato dhiman sayutan eva samshrayet. So, dhiman, one who is intelligent, sayutan eva samshrayet. He should associate with company of those who are of same mentality. So that swakula rudyai, he can improve his good qualities in himself. So, it is generally said, if you wanted to become a good man, you associate with other good men. If you wanted to become a bad person, you associate with bad people. Like for example, if you want to become a drunkard, Prabhupada gives always his example. Just sit with the drunkards. What happens? Slowly, you become accustomed to that smell of liquor. So, once you accustom to the smell, then automatically you get carried to the taste and you become a drunkard. So, by association, we develop that personality. So, in Bhagavatam also, it says, it is important. So, for a common man, what is the ultimate thing? What is beneficial for him? It says, Durlabho Manusha Deho. This human form of life is very rare. In 84 lakh species, coming to human form is very rare. Durlabha Manusho Deho. Dehinam Kshana Banguraha. For those who have accepted this material body, Dehinaha, which is Kshana Banguraha. It's only a moment of time what they are getting in this human form of life. Tatrapi Durlabha Manye, which is more rare even than having a human form of life. Vaikunta Priya Darshanam, having the association of a devotees of Lord Kṛṣṇa. So, having association of devotees of Lord Kṛṣṇa is the rarest opportunity for a person who has accepted the rarest form of birth as a human. And further it says, Ata Atyantikam Kshemam, and the most auspicious thing, Atyantikam Kshemam, Pruchamo Bhavato Anuga. So, let me inquire, Pruchamo Bhavata from you, O Anaga, O sinless one, O devotees. Samsare asmin kshanardopi. In this material world, samsare asmin kshana ardopi. Even a moment of one's time, kshanardopi. Satsanga sevadir nunam. having the association of the devotees, is the rarest and greatest auspicious activity what a person can have in this material world. Samsare asmin. And it is the Sevadir Nranam. It is the greatest treasure what a devotee can possess. So, see how Bhagavatam is glorifying the importance of association. The greatest treasure, the greatest auspicious activity is Kshanardopi Vaishnava Sangaha. Even a moment association with a Vaishnava is the greatest facility, greatest treasure. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kona bhagye karo samsara kshayon mukha. Kona bhagye, by some fortunate thing, karo samsara kshaya unmukha. We get an opportunity to associate with Vaishnava. It reduces all the materialistic impact upon the person. Sadhu Sangha tabe Krishna rati hoya. Only when you associate with sadhus, tabe Krishna rati hoya, you develop attraction for Lord Krishna. If you have to become a devotee of the Lord, you have to associate with the devotees of the Lord. If you have to develop bhakti, you have to associate with people who are engaged in devotional service. Shreya madhye kon shreya jivera hoya sara. This is a question put forward by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Ramananda Raya. Of all the auspicious things, shreyon madhye, kon shreya jivera hoya sara, which is the most important auspicious thing for a living entity. He says, Krishna Bhakta Sangha Vina Shreya Nahi Ara. There is no other auspicious activity than having association of a devotee of Lord Krishna. So, how great it is. Then further it says, what happens when you associate with a Vaishnava? Yatra uttama shloka gunanuvadaha prastuyate gramya kata vigataha nishevyamano anudinam mumukshor matim satim yachati vasudeva. Yatra uttama shloka gunanuvadaha, where there is a discussion of Lord Krishna's guna anuvadaha, discussions about Lord Krishna's glories, pastimes and activities. Yatra, where this happens. Pratushyate gramya kata vikataha, and where there is no discussion of gramya kata, like politics, cinema, what is happening in the world, all these things are not discussed there. Nishevyamano anudinam, where the devotees are continuously engaged in praising and worshipping with full attention. And in the association of devotees, anudinam, regularly. Mumuksho, those who desire even to merge into the personality of Godhead, those who want to merge into the Brahman effulgence. Matim satim, even he will have a change in his consciousness. Yachati Vasudeva, and he becomes a devotee of Lord Vasudeva. See, even those who are impersonalists, when they associate with devotees, even their consciousness becomes changed and they would like to become a personal devotee of Lord Vasudeva. That is the potency of associating with Vaishnavas. And similarly, one more place it says, in Garuda Purana it says, Kita Pakshi Mruganam cha, among insects, Kita, Pakshi, birds, Mruganam, animals cha, Haro Sanyasta Chetasam, Urdvam eva gatim manye, Kim Punar Jnaninam Runam. The insects, birds and beasts who surrender their consciousness, Haro Sanyasta Chetasam. So, to Hari, Sanyasta Chetasam, who have offered their minds and consciousness to Hari, Urdvam eva gatim manye, they achieve Urdvam, the highest destination, Gatihi, of the spiritual world. Kim Puna Jnaninam Runam, what to then speak of learned souls? If Pakshi engages in the service of Hari by thinking, it goes back home, back to Godhead, then what to speak of devotees who are constantly engaged in thinking of Hari? So, this entire Bhagavatam is this very perspective which glorifies the Vaishnava association. So what is so special in Bhagavatam? Various Puranas, they glorify Bhagavatam by saying this. Shatasho ata sahasraischa kimanyai shastra sangrahai. What is the use of accumulation of thousands of scriptures? Na yasya tishtate gehe shastram Bhagavatam kalo. In Kali Yuga, in whose house there is no Bhagavatam, which is of no use of having thousands of other scriptures. Katam sa Vaishnavo Jnayaha. Who is a Vaishnava? Shastram Bhagavatam kalo gruhena tishtati. In whose house there is no Bhagavatam, he is not a Vaishnava. They very strongly they condemn the personality. Yasya sa vipraha sa eva panchadamaha. Even though he might be a vipraha, he is panchadamaha. He is lower than dog eater. Yatra yatra bhavet vipraha shastram Bhagavatam kalo. Wherever there is discussion of Bhagavatam kalo in this Kali Yuga, Tatra tatra Harir yati tridashai saha Narada. Oh my dear Narada, there Lord Hari is personally present where Bhagavatam is discussed along with all the demigods. Yah patet prayato nityam shlokam Bhagavatam mune. Oh my dear Muni, who studies one shloka of Bhagavatam every day, Ashtadasha Puranam phalam prapnoti manavaha. He achieves the result of all the 18 Puranas simply by reciting one shloka of Bhagavatam every day. So how glorious is Bhagavatam? And Prabhupada made a system that every day we recite at least one shloka officially, so that it becomes a custom, it becomes a habit, it becomes a like it's almost like one's nature that every day you read at least one shloka. So Bhagavatam means it is always called as Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad means beautiful, Bhagavat means related to the Supreme Lord. So Srimad Bhagavatam means that which is most beautiful literary creation, because it describes the beautiful pastimes of the Supreme Person. That's why it's called as, glorified as Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad also means opulent. Srimad Bhagavatam is as opulent as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is full of all the opulences. So devotees, Vaishnavas, especially in our parampara, they always communicate the philosophy in a way through songs. So one such great Acharya is known as Govinda Dasa. So many of the songs were there. Govinda Dasa Bilashare we used to sing. So he has one song. He describes about the mentality of people's heart in Kali Yuga. How our heart behaves. He says, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Balarama Nityananda Parishada Sanghe Avatara. So Krishna Balaram has come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu along with all his associates. Golokera Premadana Sabara Yachina Dila Na Lainu Muni Durachara. And they freely distributed Golokera Premadana, the treasure of Goloka Vrindavana, the Harinama Sankirtana, to one and everyone. Freely they were distributing. Na Laimu Muni Durachara. But I am so unfortunate, I did not take that. Even though they were distributing freely, because I am Durachara, I am wicked hearted. Ami Pamara Mana Marame Rahala Badalesha. Are Pamara Mana, he is saying, Marame Rahala Badalesha, oh my wicked heart. Marame Rahala Badalesha, there is a great javelin pushed into my heart. A sword is pushed into my heart. Sankirtana Prema Bhadale Sabahiya Dubale. Sankirtana Prema is like a big rain. What do you say, bigger rain? It's like a flood. Bhadale means it's a flood. Sankirtana Prema is like a Bhadale. Sabahiya Dubala. And everyone is merged into that Sankirtana Prema. Everyone merged into that flood. Moha Vidhi Vanchita Kela. But I did not, because Moha destiny had cheated me. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada kalpataru chaya. The shadow of the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Vaishnava, the spiritual master and Vaishnava, are like pada kalpataru chaya. They are like the shade of wish fulfilling tree. Panasabha jiva tapa pasharila. Achieving that, all living entities became free from the three modes of material nature. Sabha tapatraya, they became free from all the tapatraya. Muni abhagiya vishaye matiya rainu hena yuge nistarana hoila. But unfortunately, Muni abhagiya, I am unfortunate. Vishaye matiya, and I drank poison of material sense gratification. Rainu hena yuge nistarana hoila. Even after one yuga, I am still in this material world, not delivered. Agune pudiya maron jale pravesha karon vishakana maron ma papiya. Agune padiya, I will enter into fire. Maron jale pravesha, I will enter into water and try to die. Vishakano maron, I will try to drink poison and die. Ma papiya, I am such a sinful person. Ei mata kari yadi maranana kare vidhi prana. I endeavored to die in many ways, but Marana did not give me an opportunity to die. Ki sukha lagiya, then how can I content to go on living and breathing? Ehena gauranga guna na karinu shravana, hoya hoya kari hi hutasa. I did not listen. Ekena gauranga guna, the glories of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, na karinu shravana, I did not hear to that pastimes. Ha hoya kari ha hutasa. Alas, alas, I burn in the flames of a fire. Hare Krishna Maha Mantra Muke Bari Na Lailama Jivan Vrata Govinda Dasa. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra Mukha Bari Na Lailama. I did not chant or I did not fill my mouth with Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Jivan Vrata Govinda Dasa. I am like living, although a dead body, I am Govinda Dasa. See how the Vaishnavas are trying to communicate. The unfortunate situation. The opportunity was given to everyone to chant the holy name of the Lord, but still we are resistant, we are abstinent, we are strong, all the qualities of the mind. So we don't want to take up the chanting of the holy name. Such unfortunate situation. This is the compassion of Vaishnava Acharyas upon all the people. So generally when an assembly is there, now in this assembly also so many people came there, so many sages are there. How do you determine who is senior and who is junior? Or else problem will be there. Because if you treat senior like a junior and junior like a senior, they will become offended. No, what is the principle? How do you distinguish who is senior and who is junior? Is there any criteria? Huh? Spiritual elevated level, age is one criteria, education is one criteria, spiritual realization is one criteria. So what does Shastra say? Who is senior? So this is a story from Haribhakta Shuddhodaya. So once on the sacred bank of Ganges, there was a great sages assembly, and the head of that assembly was Vasishtha, and there were many other great sages there. So discussions were taking about various topics there, including who is dear to Lord Vishnu. And there was some controversy because some groups were saying some point, some groups were saying some other point. So they were not able to come to one proper conclusion. Who is dear to Lord Vishnu? So at that time, the great Rishi Markandeya, he had a benediction that he can stay up to 7 kalpas of Brahma. Means 7 days of Brahma, means 7 into 43,20,000 years into 1,000. That is his age. He arrived there. So understanding that he could answer all their questions, all the rishis welcomed him and they offered him a comfortable suite. So because he is eldest by age, eldest by realization, eldest by knowledge also, so they gave him the opportunity to sit on the stage. So the Markandeya could understand what the problem was going on, what was their consciousness and what they were discussing about. So in that assembly he saw there was a small boy by name Parasara Muni, who was only 5 years old. So he was sitting on the lap of his father. Although he was a small boy, his bhakti is so steadfast. So even for a moment he never forgot the Supreme Lord. So as soon as Markandeya saw Parasara, immediately with great reverence he offered obeisances to the child Parasara. So all the sages were surprised there, because he is such a person of so much age and he is offering respects to a boy who is of 5 years old. So seeing Markandeya's behavior, the small child Parasara felt very unhappy and he quickly fell down with great reverence. Then Markandeya lifted him and said, "You are older than all of us, therefore we worship you." The little boy said, "What is this? I am mere a 5 to 7 year old boy, whereas you are of 7 kalpas old. How am I older? So I am 7 years old and you are 7 kalpas old. So how I am older?" So Markandeya, he started explaining to all the assembled sages the logic behind. Markandeyo ata vihasan praha madhye tapasvinam ayusho gananam naivam brahmam tat shunu tattvataha. So I am going to explain to you tattvataha, in truth, ayusha gananaha, how to take count of one's age. How to consider how long or how old is he. Yavato hi kshana jalahari smrutyaiva dehinam eki krutvaivataan eva gananam karyam ayushaha. The time one spends remembering Lord Hari should be calculated as the actual span of life. I may be living for 100 years, but how long did I remember Hari? That is my actual age, or else everything is not counted. He says, just as one can only know how much grain is present by blowing away useless husk. You may have so much paddy, but what is your rice? Unless you blow away that husk, you will get the actual rice. So similarly, the wise persons do not count the time of one's life that is spent devoid of remembering Vishnu. You may live 100 years, but 99 years you have never remembered Vishnu. So your age is only 1 year. Since you do not spend even a moment without thinking of the Lord, by that estimation, you are far advanced in your age and are an object of worship for all of us. As a group, we are lacking in worship of Hari, that even if the accumulated ages of all the great sages is not up to your 7 years old. He is saying, my 7 kalpas with all the other rishis, even if you take into account, in this entire time, how much time did we remember Vishnu? Is not even your 7 years age. The time spent for attaining spiritual good in life is the only time worth living. If one simply leads a life pursuing gross material enjoyment, how can they be considered like better than a beast? Ahara nidra bhayamaitanancha, if you are engaged in the same thing, then what is the difference between you and an animal? Both are same. So you cannot be counted as a human being. Then he says, Bhojana, Mehana, Maituna, Nidraha. All living entities engage in these 4 activities. Bhojana, Mehana, Maituna, Nidraha. Eating, sex life and sleeping. Krandana, Shoshana, Mohana, Leelaha. And engaged in crying, lamenting and illusion. Jantushu, Keshuna, Santi, Navastu. Shrisha, Padarchanaya, Adhika, Uktaha. So these common factors for every living entity that take birth, whereas human beings alone are given the rare opportunity to contemplate on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Shirsha, Pada Archanaya, Adhika Uktaha. There is nothing but an opportunity to meditate upon the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Samasta Shreyasha Moolam Hitva Urukrama Sevanam. All the auspicious things, the best thing is to serve the lotus feet of Lord Urukramaha. Vartamanam naram vaktum jivatiti na shaknumaha. Wise persons do not consider a person who is devoid of devotion to Lord Narayana as even living. Darum kimna chalati, angam kimna swasti brastrika. A dead tree also, when there is a wind, it keeps moving. And blacksmith bellows, he will be pumping, and they were also breathing. Kim smith vina na vadati. Even though vina is a dead wood, it also plays sound. Sanjeevatvam na tavata. All these qualities existing, they should not be considered as living. The instrument, murali, is a dead wood. It is playing sound, doesn't mean that it is living. The tree is moving and shaking, doesn't mean that it is living, dead tree. The blacksmith bellows, they are breathing because he is also pumping air into that, doesn't mean that it is living. Balo Bhagavataha Shreshto. Even though a child who is Bhagavata Shreshtaha, Vruto Achais Chirajivi Api. Even though he is better than a person of a long age, Chirajivi Api, he is better than. Netror Bhyeti Tulasim Sumahan Api Vrikshaha. A Tulasi can be a small plant which is better than a big banyan tree. So which is better? Tulsi tree has a big banyan tree. The Tulsi tree of a small size is much better than a big banyan tree. So finally, in conclusion, who is senior? The person who is able to continuously remember Lord Vishnu is the most senior person. So in that way, in this assembly, so many great personalities have come, and everybody have come with the one and sole intention to hear more about the glories of the Lord and various other duties, because Bhīṣma Deva is the most learned person of his time. So he is going to explain to Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj about various subjects which becomes part of Anushashana Parva. The discussion happened more than 30 days. It's not one time, 1 hour, one small Bhagavatam class. It happened for 30 days from morning till evening. Every day morning attend, and only at the night they used to go back. So 30 days discussion of that glorious subject. That's why all great sages have assembled there to hear more and more what the topics are. We'll see in the future classes. I'll stop here. Any questions or doubts? Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanand.
శ్రీకృష్ణుణ్ణి చేరుకోవడానికి బృందావనం వైపు ఉరకలేస్తున్న యమునోత్రి, కైలాసం చేరుకోవడానికి పరుగులు తీస్తున్న గంగోత్రి, శంకరుణ్ణి శాంతపరచడం లక్ష్యంగా పాండవులు నిర్మించిన కేదార్నాథ్, ఆధ్యాత్మిక సాధనకు స్ఫూర్తినిచ్చే ఆ నరుడు నారాయణుడు నడయాడిన ప్రదేశం బద్రీనాథ్. ఈ 4 ధామాల దివ్య దర్శనమే మన చార్ధామ్ యాత్ర ప్రతి భారతీయుడి ఆకాంక్ష. రండి ఈ మహోన్నత యాత్రలో భాగస్వాములమవుదాం.
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణ వాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలతో హరే కృష్ణ వాణి మొబైల్ యాప్ నేడే డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. మరిన్ని వివరాల కోసం కాల్ చేయండి 9133107700.
శ్రీకృష్ణుణ్ణి చేరుకోవడానికి బృందావనం వైపు ఉరకలేస్తున్న యమునోత్రి, కైలాసం చేరుకోవడానికి పరుగులు తీస్తున్న గంగోత్రి, శంకరుణ్ణి శాంతపరచడం లక్ష్యంగా పాండవులు నిర్మించిన కేదార్నాథ్, ఆధ్యాత్మిక సాధనకు స్ఫూర్తినిచ్చే ఆ నరుడు నారాయణుడు నడయాడిన ప్రదేశం బద్రీనాథ్.